I always used to do. We had the Ninja Turtle toys, and we would use the GI Joes as the foot soldiers because we couldn't afford to buy like 20 foot soldiers. So instead, we had the GI Joes.
See, I didn't have
I had to go economical. I had to get the dollar soldiers. You know, like 100 of them. I have a whole army to play with.
There you go.
Like we had like.
Then you get ethnic with the Cowboys and Indians.
We had like Thundercat toys, but since there was like no Chitara one, I had my cousin like use her like 8 foot tall Barbie, like Lionel's this big and Barbie's like 30 feet tall.
Amazons and shit.
Like, yeah, Tara's a big bitch. She's gonna kick murmurs in this hot pink convertible. New Thunder tank.
Y'all remember that? They had
Malibu edition.
They had the Star Wars toys, and they had Princess Leia, but she was made from the same cast like as the men toys. So they had a manly, buff-looking Princess Leia, and
The Beyonce
the Beyonce Leia
Flat.
Hey everybody, welcome to That's Alt, a show that unites a group of nostalgic bastards to talk about all things geek. I'm your host, Brian McBalls, and today we're going back to our roots and talking about cartoons from our childhood. So let's go ahead and I'll introduce our panel. We have here with us Marcus, the only Tigger.
What's up?
For his first debut, we have Nando over here. He's usually working behind the scenes. We had to let him out of his box.
Yeah, that was about time.
And so, yeah,
I've been waiting. I've been patiently waiting.
He's escaped the shadows.
I have escaped the shadows. I won't go back, I promise.
You're born in it.
That doesn't mean I have to go back.
And then we have Alex, the Boss Nest Monster.
What's going on?
And yeah, we're just going to be talking about cartoon shows from our childhood. This is probably going to be a nostalgia fest here. And why don't you get us rolling, Alex? What were some of your favorites from your childhood?
Man, growing up, I would say like some of my favorite like cartoons growing up would have to be, of course, like He-Man.
By the power of Grayskull.
Because, you know, that was like my OG starting point. You know, He-Man, Thundercats. Like, I really wasn't as hardcore G.I. Joe. Like, I love the G.I. Joe's toys, but I really didn't watch, like, the show like that. I would watch it every blue moon, but, you know, it was just, the Saturday mornings was just like a whole, like, it was like a Christmas every weekend, you know, waking up early in the morning just to turn on the TV, like, oh, what's going to be on this weekend? Then, you know, hitting outside and talking about it, trying to find the new toys and stuff like that, so. Yeah.
It was like a ritual.
Couldn't
wake up for school, but you could wake up for some cartoons.
That was an exciting time, dude.
6 o'clock in the morning, you up for cartoons.
Effort, but you really, really wanted to wake up.
Oh, yeah. I remember
you were so mad if you missed it. Man.
I would hit myself. I woke up like at 10. I'd be like, fuck, I missed like half the cartoons, man.
There was no TiVo, no DVR. So like, if you missed, luckily you had a homeboy who watched it that could tell you what happened. Because you wasn't watching it again until it came like on VHS like decades later. Like,
or for some by some miracle you actually set the VHS to record it.
Yeah,
man. See,
it's like I'm not gonna get up today. It's like let me set this thing to record, and now I gotta rewind 2 hours to go back and watch cartoons.
No, that was the greatest thing. If you had the VHS and you had those recordable tapes, you're like, I am ready. I can sleep because I'm ready.
I think I still got some of those little mixtapes you made. All those commercials. Shit. Like that's. I don't know. That's something to look back on. Like, even those commercials are nostalgic for me.
Crossfire.
Yeah, Crossfire.
You'll get caught up in it.
You can't. That's all. But thing is, like, almost with the '80s, like, I want to say, growing up in the '80s, people took more pride in like their work as far as like cartoons and everything, because like the intros to the cartoons were always done like, you know, from somewhere in Japan, so it was like highly detailed, anime looking, like you had the same like big haired, you know, 80s band doing the theme songs, and like the cartoons, the storylines were still good, but like now it's like everything is just, they just market it into like
5 seconds or less.
Yeah, and it's not even as good anymore. It's not even worse. Why? Like, I can't remember the last time I really woke up to watch a cartoon on the weekend. The last time that happened was when, you know, they brought the new Thundercats and like Young Justice out.
His feared has arrived. Thunder through the dead. Thunder, man,
that's the closest I've ever had to that happening, and a lot of those shows are getting canceled now. So
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the shows back then were of higher caliber. Like there was more detail put into the drawings, and I don't know. A lot of these newer shows look like they're so simple and simplistic. There's no details to the characters. They're all like football-headed shaped kids, and I don't know.
Like that, and like everything is almost the same. Because when Pokemon came out, in the '90s, it was all about raising, creatures and fighting them. Then you had what was it, Monster Rancher?
Yeah,
Monster Rancher. You had Digimon, and you got Beyblade. Everything now is all about competitive arena type stuff. But in the '80s, you had like so many different like cartoons of just different types of like genres and subjects. You had movies and so forth like that. But nowadays, it's more of the same old stuff.
Someone puts up a really great idea that's really marketable, like Pokemon. You gave a good example, and everybody tries to copy that. And the same thing happened. I mean, to some extent, it happened in our generation too. Ninja Turtles came out, and then everybody was trying to copy the Ninja Turtles because you had Biker Mice from Mars, Street Sharks, Samurai Pizza Cats. Yep. All these stupid things. Like they're trying to mimic something that was successful.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Let's talk about some of our favorites. Nando, why don't you tell? You're a younger generation than us.
Yeah, like the '80s. I admired the cartoons that existed during the '80s, but I grew up in the recognizing cartoons from the late '90s. So the big things that I grew up enjoying was, for starters, first generation and second generation Pokemon. I really grew up into that phenomenon because during my time, I was in elementary school. Everybody was getting the Pokemon cards. Everybody was collecting everything. We were hyped up by them. We fed into the Japanese market that was basically saying collect, collect, collect.
Can I read?
Mm-hmm. And we fed into it. We're like, okay, we're gonna collect it. But so we went to everything: the anime, we went into the games, the cards, everything.
Movies,
everything. The movie, oh god, the movie where Mewtwo came out, everybody was like, oh my god, this is that Pokemon that no one ever sees in the series, and we all went nuts. And when we finally saw him battle it out and then there was another one. See, that was the other thing. There was 150, now there's 151, and we're like, that shouldn't be. There's an extra one. So that was the way that they marketed it, we fed into it and we liked it, and I accepted that I got tricked and bamboozled into buying a lot of that stuff, but I accepted.
I did too.
Yeah, we all did. How about you, Marcus? What were some of your favorites?
I mean, obviously, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was probably the one that I watched religiously, like whenever it was on TV. But like growing up on Saturday morning cartoons, you had like the X-Men series. You also had Spider-Man, Eat the Cat.
Eat the Cat was awesome.
You go into some of those, but then also like the day after, because cartoons weren't just limited to Saturday. You had early Sunday morning, Pirates of Dark Water. There were just like was it King Arthur and the Knights of the Round?
Yeah, I remember
Knights
that.
of Justice, just had a bunch of them going throughout the week and everything, and it was like even coming into like my later middle school years, like coming home from school and watching like Ronin Warriors, DBZ,
Disney Afternoon.
The Disney Afternoon was.
Oh yeah, Recess.
like watching Recess
Loved Recess.
after school, and it was all in that same block. I mean, there were tons growing up.
They were on a roll back then, man. The Disney Afternoon, you had the DuckTales,
Yep.
Rescue Rangers,
Batman the Animated Series
Darkwing
came out of that.
Darkwing Duck.
So I mean, there were really really good cartoons that came out of that time, and they kind of, in a sense, with some of them, they grew up with us, because like he brought up Recess. It's like you had that, and you didn't get into those deep type of conversations, but the stuff that it dealt with, like growing up, like
It's crazy looking back. It's some deep stuff being talked in some of that
Yeah.
stuff, where it's like at least messaged throughout the cartoon.
yeah, the snitch episode.
Yeah,
It's like
Recess.
dude stay quiet the entire episode. Wouldn't say a thing because he wouldn't tell. He wasn't a snitch.
Yeah.
If you had anything to do with it, boy, I'll grant you immunity.
Well, you see,
Come on, spit it out!
I don't know.
Recess came late for me, and I remember everybody talking like I think I was middle school, maybe early high school. I don't remember when Recess came out, but I remember thinking, I was too old for this kind of stuff, whatever. And I thought like Recess was gonna be shitty, and then I actually sat down and watched it, and I really liked it. Like that was back then.
And you know, in a sense, with some of that stuff, like I said, it grew up with us because like it wasn't necessarily just for like the young kids that were watching. Like us who were getting older, like we were actually able to, you know, like be nostalgic and look back on some of that stuff and be like, I remember that.
The new kid,
Yeah.
the new kid.
Yeah.
The other kid was happy. He goes, yeah, I was a new kid for 3 years.
But I mean, you just had some really, really good stuff come out of that. And then going back even further, like younger, like the cartoons that came out, you had like, you know, C.O.P.S.
Oh yeah.
That one was really good. But you didn't have all the paranoia about, you know, like the arm stuff that, you know, like people being armed now because they were using guns left and right and
There were
everything.
guns, yep.
There was action. It was marketed towards boys, and even the girls had their cartoons. You had like Jim,
She-Ra.
yeah, She-Ra, and those old cartoons, they were like borderline like stop motion. Some of them, like I remember watching He-Man. It was like almost
Oh
like
yeah, the frames, the way
Yeah.
that they would move.
Yeah,
you
they
could
were-
tell like the He-Man was pasted behind this background. You could tell some.
We had brought up talking about some mature subject matter that these older cartoons went into. I always think of Exo-Squad when I think of these. Have y'all ever seen Exo-Squad?
Yeah.
I remember it.
Well, like they dealt with so many deep matters, and like the main one was racism because it was dealing with the Neo-Sapiens. You remember the Neo-Sapiens? Right. They were basically a genetic race that the humans engineered to be their slave labor, and it was about them rising up and racial tensions. It was a really delicate and like mature subject matter for a child's cartoon series. But I mean, this came on the weekday mornings. I remember I had to watch every episode before I went to school. Like, you know, I watched it and then ran out the door to catch the bus. Like, but I mean,
All the space pirates were Hispanics.
that's true.
Yeah, you wish they were Asian, but yeah, we get to have that claim. The thing that I noticed, like for example, just listening to you guys talking about those cartoons from the '80s, what I noticed that I feel is not happening anymore with cartoons. There is great pride and appreciation in saying that I was able to watch these kinds of cartoons and that they existed during my period of time. Like for example, I know Alex hates some of the cartoons that I grew up with during the late '90s and early 2000s because that's during that borderline where, and I'll get to that in a second, where, for example, Cartoon Network just started going completely different directions. And you started noticing that networks in general were just either reducing their times for actually showing cartoons or just not putting that much really hard an investment into cartoons in general. But like, for example, I still take some pride and I can say like, you know, I do like some of the cartoons that I was raised with. And maybe he's against some of them, but at least I can say I have pride in those cartoons. You say you have pride. There's pride in the cartoons that we grew up with, but I don't know if, you know, I feel like that doesn't exist anymore. We can't really say like, there's some cartoons like, man, there's this block of cartoons where you're just watching, you're like, man, I really am glad that I grew up watching these cartoons and stuff like that.
Yeah, because see, I have my youngest brother is actually, he'll be 8 in about 2 weeks. And just a lot, I when he was growing up, I would actually go and buy DVDs and VHSs of cartoons that I grew up watching, like, you know, Ninja Turtles and He-Man, just so he can watch it. And at one point, he was all on Ninja Turtles because he didn't have stuff like that. You know, with him growing up, he would watch Wow Wow Wubbsy and Dora the Explorer. You know, that's cool, but it's like you didn't have like those real, you know, quote unquote boy cartoons now that like, we had back then. And also I noticed like as far as like back in the 80s, like cartoons, after every episode you got some kind of life lesson or some kind of skill or something. Like for instance, like G.I. Joe. I learned how to put out fires, how to tread water, all that stuff from off of the end of G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe made me the man I am today.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
You know, I started looking at some of the...
No one's half the battle.
Yeah, I barely watched it, but what I did watch, I learned.
But I noticed like also cartoons, because they do still have some blocks. Like for example, I started looking at some of the cartoons they're showing just right now. Mm-hmm. A lot of them just hold back a lot. They're trying to be a lot educational. They're trying not to offend a lot of kids. That's one of the things that I noticed. So like throughout time, a lot of the cartoons supposedly, I guess by parents and stuff like that, they're seen as, oh, this is... What is this? This is what my kids are watching. So like a lot of these cartoons, they have to hold back and they have to be very, very kiddish, and there can't be any symbolism or anything like really deep, because then just like, why are my kids watching this? It seems too complex for them.
But see, that's the thing a lot of people have to understand is like, with as far as kids, they don't know about all that stuff to be offended by it. Because you know, when you're a kid, you don't really care about, the color of your friends or stuff or economic issues. If your friend is your friend and you accept things for what they are, if you want to be entertained, then you just entertain. But when you start trying to, limit, certain things, it kind of messes up the whole atmosphere, I guess, as far as like the whole.
Yeah, and I thought that was cool about the cartoons from our time is that as we grow up, there's still, you rewatch it. It's like rewatching something because you missed something just because you didn't understand it at the time that there was something there that existed and there was depth.
You take the cartoons that were like intended, like from the get-go, almost for shown before movies for like adults.
Yeah.
So you take Looney Tunes into that, and that crosses, like all ages. It's like it's funny enough for the kids, but there's a lot of undertones that go through there. You have racial undertones. You have curse words that go through there. Like they're
violence.
all,
The violence?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
the violence. That's extreme violence. Tom and Jerry too. Dude, that's extreme violence.
Company.
The very defective company. I don't know why Wile E. Coyote never filed a lawsuit.
Another company. It's a monopoly, man. What other thing is going up against Acme?
That would be the modern Wile E. Coyote. You take it to the court.
He goes to court, and it's. And then all of a sudden, Rowers have to pay up.
I guess that was another thing. The violence in cartoons has been extremely diminished. Like I remember watching shows like Eat the Cat, and it was about Eek trying to go see his girlfriend. And to get to his girlfriend, he would have to cross this yard where there was a vicious dog. It was a shark dog, Sharky.
Sharky, the shark dog.
So like every time he'd try and go, say hi to his girlfriend, he gets his ass beat, chewed up, and like there's so much violence.
He'd get across with no fur.
Yeah, the poor guy, man. He's just trying to live his life and do something, but he
trying to get them cat guts.
Yeah, the cat guts. The cat guts.
And that's been something that's like Tom and Jerry. It's like same thing. It's like he'd end up going up against what was the bulldog?
Yeah,
He'd end up Spike the bulldog. It's like going up trying to get to the girl cat and it's like just get tore up by Spike on the way, and Jerry be right there egging him on the entire time.
I felt bad for Tom a lot of the time, man. Like, because a lot of times Jerry was the one who started shit.
Well, he had his wins. He had his moments.
He had
in the sun,
some.
but they were like they weren't really wins. They were like draws, I guess.
And I want to bring up some of the more obscure cartoons too that I don't think anybody really knows about. Like Alex, me and you talked about it before, like Botmaster.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think nobody knows what that is.
That was like one of the first, I want to say, 3D cartoons, And, they marketed, that was another thing with the whole marketing back in the day. Like, if it was a cartoon, they would try to market it so that you would need other stuff to watch. So you want to watch this show, you need to buy the toys that have the 3D glasses in it to watch the 3D sections of the show. Because, like, on Botmaster, they were like, okay, guys, put the 3D glasses on, and then you put 3D glasses on with the show and still enjoy it. But they don't have that type of stuff. They don't really. I don't think they really push for the cartoons as much as they used to. Because I remember before the new season of like Saturday morning cartoons, like on was it like NBC and ABC, they would have like whoever was cool on TGIF that night. They grew that, hey, we're gonna watch the new Saturday morning of cartoons and previews, and you would see stuff like Reboot, that's gonna be the new show coming up. They would give you a preview of everything that's to come. So okay, this is gonna be the new hotness, the
new hotness
on Saturday morning cartoons. But now like stuff just comes up. It's just like almost like a total surprise unless you pay attention to the internet or something like that.
Yeah, they would have like entire like premieres, like it would be on a different night other than the normal Saturday night.
Exactly. Do y'all remember? I remember watching the original Power Rangers. And when they had the introduction of Lord Zed, they put that on at like 5 o'clock prime time. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that one. I was hyped.
Yeah, Power Rangers episode.
Lord Zed was epic when he first that dude was pissed off all the time. He was just dead serious.
I'm gonna. If you had like no skin.
I thought like seriously, if a breeze came through him, it would just hurt him so much, and that's why he'd be like, God, I'm so pissed.
Yeah, exactly. You had no skin, man. No dermal layers. You know.
But I thought that was unheard of.
The metal.
They put something, a kid's cartoon that came on at like 5 or 6 p.m. It was like prime time viewing. It was, I don't know.
That was like with the Halloween episodes, like the Ghostbusters cartoons would come on at night. You know, they don't do stuff like that anymore.
Or they would take, like current stuff or like stuff that's an adult movie and make it a cartoon. So you got like young James Bond out of stuff like that.
Rambo.
Yeah, Rambo the cartoon.
Conan.
Watching cartoons.
Conan cartoons.
Highlander.
So you would get like that adult stuff and turn it into a cartoon, and it'd be
Okay.
RoboCop.
Oh man, that,
It felt like an event to watch cartoons. Like, for example, in Cartoon Network, they used to have a block called Cartoon Fridays. And I remember it would be like a cartoon character would host the segments. And I remember every Friday, me and my cousin, we would be so excited for the new cartoon that would be hosting.
Welcome back to Cartoon Fridays. I'm your host, Double D, and yes, I'm stuck in an air vent.
Basically saying, oh, we're going to show Johnny Bravo or Courage the Cowardly Dog. But it was like all throughout the week, it'd be like, oh, this week he's going to be hosting. We're going to have all these new cartoons. It'd be like, oh, I know that I'm going to be from 7 o'clock till like 1 o'clock in the morning, just cartoons nonstop. The commercials, cartoons, everything's just cartoon. It was just this ridiculous
And then right
event.
after that, you had Toonami.
Oh, yeah, Toonami. I love Toonami.
see, I remember like because my Saturday mornings I knew it was a wrap on cartoons and time to go outside when Soul Train came on.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was like cartoons, Soul Train up.
Time to go.
Outside. Let's go.
It's like, what time is it? 12 o'clock, Soul Train? Okay.
Yeah, it's grown ups time. They're
Go
finna go
hoop.
dancing. Go ride bikes.
That was a sad point too when you started to like notice that the Saturday morning cartoons were dying. Like it was like one channel at a time. It would just go away.
Right. Cause it was like, oh, the National World of Golf, and I'm like, that network's off. Oh, I know what TBS is still going on. This and you had like USA. I got mad because USA had, I think, the worst cartoons.
Yeah, you had Savage Dragon, Wildcats,
Like
and
Street Fighter.
Mortal
They had
Kombat.
the worst. They had the worst cartoons.
Did they have the
ever.
Mortal Kombat cartoons?
Yes.
I just remember Sonya, combat time. Every time she wanted to do something, it was god awful. Every time, no, Sonya, we can't combat time. Like, come on, go from the plant, combat
USA,
time.
I noticed this though too. They always had the video game cartoons because they had the Pac-Man, they had Mortal
that's
Kombat, they had Street Fighter, but it was
Sonic the
just,
Hedgehog.
They had the Darkstalker, one side of the Hedgehog, and it was just like, and they would just constantly just destroy those cartoons. And then like you had with Mr. T, Chuck Norris had a cartoon.
Yeah.
And that was like the most beast thing ever. He had like his own little team. They would like do kung fu and kick ass against ninjas and stuff like that. And I remember I had the toys, all types of stuff. Mr. T, he had his stuff. They had A-Team cartoons. Like it was popping back in the 80s, like I said. But now it's just they don't really try to, I guess, push for that type of stuff anymore. There's a lot of dope cartoons from the 80s that I would actually like to see be done as movies. Like because you had like stuff like Exo-Squad.
Exo-Squad.
That'd be a dope movie.
I'd love to see a Pirates of Darkwater movie.
Yeah.
That would be badass.
Like that. What else you would have? You would have like Gargoyles.
Gargoyles would be awesome.
What else? There's a couple of other dope ones that you could have done back then. You can still do now, but it's just they need to go back, I think, and start looking at that stuff, because now when you're watching TV, it's a lot of the kids who grew up watching those 80s and 90s cartoons who are the ones making the cartoons now. And they can relate to it, because now a lot of those kids are raising kids, and they kind of I think they want their kids to have the same level of entertainment like as they did. Because you start seeing, because I know my parents watch regular show, and my little brother thinks it's retarded, but my parents, they watch it and they laugh at it, and just because it's more of like like I said, it's the kids who grew up watching those stuff now is trying
You
to...
see references, like I remember there was an episode that was referencing the movie The Wizard, where they actually had that tournament Armageddon thing.
No, I didn't see that.
And it was Mordecai and Rigby. I think they were actually going for like a power glove kind of thing. So they had to go to this tournament. The last showdown was the Armageddon thing, where they literally had like the thing show up and it opened the doors, the gates of hell, and there was like the television screen and everything. And it was crazy because I knew that reference, but I think like somebody that grew up like early 2000s.
Were they playing Mario 3 too?
No, I don't think they were playing Mario. No, they weren't playing Mario 3, but you knew exactly what they were doing. And at the very, very end, it was funny because the irony of it was when they put on the glove, oh, this thing sucks, because that was the whole point.
Yeah, the actual power glove.
The power glove sucked.
Man, we could go on for this for hours, man, but we're going to go ahead and close it up for now. And that's all we have for this episode. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at Ultness and visit our website, ultness.com. Also, leave your comments about some of your childhood favorites and let us know what you think. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time on That's All.
All right.
Hey, shout outs to that boy Felipe and Chris Broward saying hi.
What's up?
And then we can go on forever about this stuff.
I forgot to say Jackie Chan. I used to love
Jackie
Chan
Chan
Adventures. When he had his own cartoon, I was
I mean, like even like right now, it's like we're still watching like Adventure Time.
Oh yeah,
I
Adventure
mean,
Time.
you got stuff that comes out. That's
There
just,
are cartoons
really
like
good.
that. There is hope. There are cartoons. I think the thing is that they're there. They're just bits and pieces in there, and compared to like I guess we were just used to this block, and we had selection, and we could like if you didn't like the stuff on Channel 13, go to Channel 11. You didn't like the stuff on Fox, go to UPN. So you had variety.
Yep.
Nowadays it's just kind of scarce.